Welcome to episode 61 of How to Play Like a WoW Pro. Today I have a replay for you on Prok from the North spawn in a CS63. This game I played on the EU server, so I don't have the best crew skills or equipment. No directive, bounty equipment instead of improved. Not a huge deal, but something to keep in mind. And as well as the 140 ping on average that I have, which is just not great. Now in this matchup, we have a tier 9 matchmaking, no artillery, which for Prok, this is just great matchmaking. I would honestly expect on average to do around at least 6k damage in this kind of matchmaking, just because of how good it is. But what I'm thinking right off the bat is what I'm thinking almost all the time on Prok in a fast medium tank. I want to take the middle quickly and get free shots into their heavy tanks as I take this route right here especially. Sometimes this route, but usually this route here you'll get shots. The enemy heavy tanks will be somewhere in this area. You can poke up and shoot them one, maybe two times. You don't want to get any more greedy than that. But what you want to do, as I'll show you in a second, is you want to use the rock in the middle for cover so that the enemy TDs moving into position don't have a good shot on you. And I can't really overstate how important it is to be very careful when you're doing this in the beginning of the game, because yes, it's one or two shots of hopefully free damage, but there is risk to it, and so you need to not get greedy. And so I almost always in a fast medium tank or even a fast heavy tank, I'll take this route and I'll push up. And as you can see, I'm keeping this rock between myself and this area right here, because the enemy tank destroyers spawn around this area here. By the time you get here, they're usually around this area right here. And so when you poke up, the rock will be between you and them. Now, if an enemy tank destroyer on the rare occasion comes over here, then they can shoot you. I don't find that happens very often, but it can happen. Now, usually you'll find a heavy tank strolling across the open field, coming like this towards the middle, like potentially their E100, their AE Phase 1, or their Conqueror, or their E75, or their IS-32. And very surprisingly, not a single heavy tank is spotted coming middle. So I just need to back down. There's no damage for me to be had, and so I need to get out of here. Now, this is the point in the battle where if they had artillery, I would be going directly into speed mode and just getting the hell out and dodging for my life, because you're the only tank that's lit on your team. The arty, if they have any, is 100% guaranteed to be aimed at you, so you need to be careful when the enemy has artillery. If they have 3 artillery, then you might want to think about not even doing this play, because if 3 artillery are aimed at you, it's pretty risky to do. But in this matchup there are no artillery, so I don't really have to be worried. Now here I shoot down this building. I didn't just do that for fun. The reason why I shoot down this building is because, as I've talked about in the previous videos, is it allows you to play this area here instead of this area here when shooting tanks right here. Because if tanks pop up right here and you're like over here, then if this building is still up, then you have to come all the way over here to get shots. Otherwise the building's in the way. But since I shot down this building, I can just come right here and I'll get shots on people on the edge there. But the reason why I'm not aimed at the hill yet is because if you look at the map, the only tank going to the hill is the Object 777, and he's still far away from the hill, so no one's going to get spotted up here unless they overpoke very heavily. And so there's no real reason for me to aim there, and even if they do get spotted there, there's a pretty good chance that I'll just get a shot through here regardless. So instead, I'm aiming at the 1-2 line. And the main reason I'm doing that is to try to bleed the EBR-90, as if he does any kind of mistake doing a run around this area, then I'll shoot him for free. The other reason why I'm setting up here is because our EBR-90 is around E1 bushes, pretty close to it. And so if any enemies push up too far, then they'll get lit. But I get lit, and so you still have to be a little bit careful playing in this area, even though this is a great spot, especially very early on when enemies haven't taken the hill yet. Because if you look on the minimap, H1, this area right over here, there's a little mound, a little hill right here, like this. Enemies can sit here and they can shoot you and they can hit your turret, so you need to be a little bit careful, especially when the enemy has lots of TDs, especially Sturvs. Sturvs love to sit there because they have enough camo to do so. Now our 777 is a little bit closer up on the hill, so I'm starting to get ready for hill spots, but the enemy light tank decides that he wants to suicide, so instead I look at him. But here's one of the big advantages of this position here. So this position is risky because you can get shot by both the hill, although this area right here is almost out of render, like this back area here is almost out of render, so they kind of have to be on the hill or at the very edge of these bushes. And then you can also get shot by this hill like I just talked about. But what this area allows you to do is if anybody pokes up in this area here, you get side shots into them, and if anybody gets spotted on the 1-2 line in these bushes like our EBR-90 is spotting, then I would also have shots on them. But since the UDES gets lit, and since I hit this guy, I'm now getting safe. I'm pointing my turret towards the hill because I know that it's a risk that I could get shot from there. And there I get hit by the TVP. Now what that tells me is their TVP has to be playing in H1 because that's the only way he could be hitting me. So that's very good information to have. He's firing APCR, which is probably a good thing because it's relatively hard to pen the CS63 even with TVP APCR just because of how heavily angled all of its armor is. And the pen on the TVP is pretty garbage. Like 232 I think. Something, or maybe 248, I can't remember. It's just really bad. I think it's 248. So now I kind of got lit there for like the past 20 seconds. I got lit twice. Now I need to just calm down a little bit. I can't poke there again. I know the TVP most likely still has 3 shells. It's just not worth it for me to poke for like the next 30 seconds at minimum. I need to chill out a little bit. Hopefully let my team get spotted. Hopefully some of the enemies make a mistake. And this is about the point in the battle where enemies will start poking over here. They'll commit onto the hill. It took them a while to drive up here. Now they'll commit onto the hill and they'll start getting lit over around here. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes the enemies don't commit on the hill at all. But if they were to commit on the hill, this is around the time that it's likely to happen. So I get set up for that. Now if you pay attention to the minimap, our EBR-90, he's making a scouting run on the 1-2, so if I had noticed that, I don't think I would have rotated because as you can see, suddenly 3 enemies get lit on top of the hill, so they're just free pickings for me. But it is something to keep in the back of my mind. If I lose shots on these guys, then I can always turn around, and as you can see, our EBR-90 is pushed up. This guy has YOLO'd, has pushed up again. He's kind of forgotten about me and that I can shoot him in the side. So I would always have shots even if I missed out on the shots on the hill. But right now I'm looking for shots on the hill because that's what's most important. Because if we lose this east side here, then we get stuck in the corner. Now it's not terrible. It's not a terrible situation for farming damage, but for winning the game, it's not great. So I lose all shots on the hill. I'm thinking about poking right now on the AE Phase 1 and the E100. Now one thing to keep in mind is, it's no longer the early game. I can't just poke here all willy-nilly shooting the guys here. I have to remember that enemies, especially since they pushed off our team here, they could be sitting up here on top of the hill and they could shoot me in the side. So that's something that's going across my mind. As you can see, I'm turning my turret towards the hill because I recognize that as a possibility. And as you can see, I'm trying to move further away from the hill, and the reason why I'm doing that is because if you look at the minimap, if I move more to the left on the minimap, this area right here is no longer at render of the hill, and this is the area that I'm most worried about. Sure, there might be some tanks in this low ground here, but more often than not, there's a lot of tank destroyers who like to camp, or even just other types of tanks. They like to camp in these bushes on the edge right here. These bushes right here. And so if I can get out of render of these bushes, this significantly lowers the chance that I'm going to get shot from the hill. Now I know that the TVP can still potentially hit me, but I'm willing to take that risk. He doesn't have the best shots on me. They're only shots on my turret. and he had APCR loaded. And if he starts shooting me, I can always just back off. I'll take one shot and then I'll stop my greed. But as long as he isn't shooting me, I'm gonna take the risk. And there I get shot by 2 tank destroyers, which is pretty lucky because the 4K5 actually hit my gun. But as you can see, the enemy tank destroyers do have an angle on me. Some of it is out of render, but it's not the best shots on me. They probably can see like this or something, this and above. But unless my teammates are getting spotted as well, it's kind of risky to be poking there. So that might have been a mistake. I'm not actually sure, to be honest, whether that was a mistake or not. But it could have been bad, is my point. So just keep that in mind when poking there. You don't want to really do it unless you think you can get away with it. And you can usually get away with it if your team is spotted as well, especially on the 1-2 line. If your team isn't spotted, then it's iffy whether or not you'll be able to get away with it. Now here, the enemy has fully taken control of the east, and I recognize that. And I know that once the enemy takes the east, this position right here is not a good one. They can push down here. They usually will slowly kill anybody at A6 by coming wide here and shooting them like this. They get proxy spotted from A6, and then this position here can shoot them in the side. Especially if they're not really good at hull down. I mean, the 26AV4 should survive for quite a while there, but he'll eventually die most likely if the enemies play correctly. And playing here, there's not really much you can do to counteract people poking at A6. It's easier to counteract people poking at A6 by playing on the 1-2 and then just shooting them when they poke. So I decided to escape to A6 because this is just a death trap that will eventually end in death, and then even while I'm there, I'm not able to farm much, so there's no real reason to stay. And so instead I decided to push up here. I don't go fully passive on the 1-2 line, and the reason why I don't do that is because our EBR-90 is still aggressive on the 1-2. And so I'm hoping to get shots on people who are playing on the 1-2 line, and I actually spot 2 tanks. Or maybe 1, maybe 2, I'm not sure. I spot 1 or 2 tanks in the 1-2 line, and here are my shots. Now if I had gone full passive and gone back to where the 4K5 is, then I wouldn't have been in render to shoot these guys most likely. So it's a good thing I did this, and the reason why I'm able to get away with this is the enemies haven't killed this 26AV4 yet, so they haven't committed into this bowl. From this bowl, there's a little hull down here, and if they were unspotted in this area, then they could shoot me in the side because I'm completely in the open to A6. But our 26AV4 is kind of holding them back from committing into A6 yet, so I'm still safe here. And now it's just a farm for me. I get shot by a Leo, but honestly, I'm not really too concerned. I don't want to get hit by the Leo or the E100 again. In the E100, if you pay attention, just a second ago, his turret was faced directly towards me, and that's not a very good penning shot at all, so there's no real reason for me to poke yet. But then he turns his turret sideways, and that's an easy pen for me, so I decided to poke after that. Here I'm aiming for this guy's top bar because I cannot pen his turret when he's that angled upwards. Unless I were to have like 350 millimeters of penetration, I would have no chance of penning that because he's angled upwards. Another thing to keep in mind when you're playing this spot here is that enemy tanks like this E4, I'll just show you in a second, they can go hull down on this ridge right here and shoot you in the side, so you need to be careful of that. Now the E4 is not a good hull down tank, so it's not a big deal. I can just shoot him in return and he should go down, and thankfully he does. Here I see the T-30s poking. It's a terrible peek for him, but if they kill the 26AV4 then it's definitely worth it, but for them at least. If they kill the 26AV4, it is worth it for them to get that position. But as you can see, they're bleeding very heavily for it. And we're up 4,000 HP right now. Hitting some good shots on them. Now all they have to do after taking this position is pull back into the corner, use the bushes to their advantage, get unlit, wait for these guys to spot these guys, and then kill them for completely free. The only thing that you can do to counteract them once they've done that is to blind shot them. And as you'll see in a second, that's exactly what I try to do. I try to blind shot them. And I'm not sure whether those hit or not, probably not. But this E75 and E100 are basically free kills right now for the Progetto. The only thing is, we're up 5,000 HP. So even though the Progetto should be able to kill these guys, it's going to take him probably 3 minutes to do so. 2 or 3 minutes. Especially if he's not managing his reload very well. And so we might just be able to make a counterplay in the meantime. And as you can tell, if you look at the minimap, our Char Future is pushing A6. He's pushing the Progetto. Now the Progetto is almost certainly not at full clip because he's probably shooting these guys in the back. So it's not a terrible play for the Char to be making. But what the Char has to do in this situation is shoot the Progetto twice maybe, and then jump over the rails and get to the other side. And then he can just proxy spot the Progetto as these two guys kill him. As these two guys and myself just kill him. But we'll see if that's what happens in this situation or not. That would be the smart play for the Char Future. Now if he's lucky, then the Progetto is completely out of shells. And then he can just kill him for free. While the AE Phase 1 and Udas can actually shoot the Char, so it's still a smart play to jump over the rails. And that's what the Char Future does, which is very good. He jumps over the rails, which is definitely the correct play. Now all he has to do is spot the Progetto for our team, and now this is where he makes a misplay. I don't think he... Okay, maybe he does. Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought that he didn't spot the Progetto, but I guess he did. Maybe I'm thinking of later. Yeah, I think I'm thinking of later. So now the Char Future backs off, and he really shouldn't be backing off, because sure, there's a couple of wrecks in the way, but if he just gave us a little bit of time, I'm sure that between myself and these two guys, we would find angles on this Progetto and just kill him. So it's a shame that he didn't just stay there and spot, and as you can see, I'm pinging the map, asking him to help me out to spot the Progetto, but he decides that there's no reason to do that, so unfortunately we don't kill the Progetto. Now I'm looking at the minimap and I see that these two guys are backed off, and so I'm almost thinking about pushing the Progetto all by myself, especially because he's down to a 3-shotable, I'm pretty sure. But I decide against that because it's just a little bit too aggressive. First of all, if he has like 3 shots or more, that I'm gonna go down to like a 1-shot just for killing him, which is it's not worth it to do that, to be honest. He's already in a very vulnerable position, so I shouldn't be trading HP with him. Killing him would just not be worth it. Get a nice shot into the Udes. Now here the E100 is just suiciding. Now that was a very unlucky shot. Extremely unlucky. I want to get unlit here before I make another move, because I don't want to start pushing the Progetto or pushing towards the middle without like getting unlit first, so that the Progetto does not know what I'm doing. And I also noticed that our ELC, well, at least I think what I noticed is that we have nobody spotting on the 1-2 line, and so I'm thinking maybe I can help out. I have to be careful though, because the Progetto can shoot me in the back. But that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to spot the 1-2 line and do a scouting run. I can't find this guy, and at this point I'm getting pretty frustrated that our Char Future isn't just spotting this Progetto so we can kill him, because this guy is a huge thorn in our side. And I'm not actually sure how the Progetto has not killed this guy yet, because he has clear shots right into his ass. So I don't know how he's still alive. The Progetto must not be a very good player or something. I'm not sure what I do at this point. I think I just sit around and wait for a while. We'll see. Our standard B is pushing the guy. Our standard B is full health, which is great. Oh, I think I remember what I do. So I just jump over the ridge here. I'm pretty sure. Maybe, okay, I don't. I see the waffle and that's what I was planning to do. I was planning to just jump over, but then I see that the waffle gets spotted, and I decide that it's a bad idea because the waffle can hit me. And then the Udez also rotated over here, so it would be a bad idea to do that. But that's what I was thinking. Now, unfortunately, our standard beat does not commit onto the Progetto, which... That's just something I've been getting very frustrated about, because this guy, he just needs to die at this point. We could push out the 1-2 line if all of us push together, but in a random battle, it's very unlikely for that kind of thing to happen. So instead, I think it's easier just to kill the Progetto, and that's what we try to do. Hit a nice Cupola shot there. Pretty lucky, because his Cupola is pretty angled at that angle. I hit a second one, but unfortunately the waffle hits me in return. Probably could have made that trade a little bit more carefully, but I risked it and I got punished for it. It happens. So now I want to get unlit again. I see that our Char is pushing up to the hill, which is great for us, and now this is starting to look a little bit more like a standard Prok battle, where it's a north versus south battle. And so I revert back to my old playstyle that I had at the start of the game. I'm just playing the middle, waiting for spots. But I am noticing the game clock. We only have 4 minutes left, so we have to start doing something. And we are up HP, so it's kind of on us to make the move at this point. But I wait just a little bit longer. We catch out the Udez, which is great. Kind of hoping to spot somebody at the edge of the bushes, but unfortunately I don't. It's a really good thing that there's no Artie in this battle, because otherwise I probably would be basically dead at this point. Unfortunately our Char dies, which really sucks. But our waffle gets lit. He was out of render for a second, but I find a shot onto him, and I'm just really hoping that we're able to kill him now, because if we are able to kill him, then I can push down the east flank, but unfortunately we're not able to. And so now what should the next play be? Well, it's a good question. And if we look at the map, it's pretty obvious to me what we should be doing. So we have a 3/4 HP STB, a full HP FV, and I think that's a 263 who's half HP. They have a Leo who's basically a one-shot, and then I don't even know what this tank is. Probably the... what even is it? Is that the TVP? No, that's not the TVP. The TVP's unlit. That's the 4005, I think. I probably wasn't aware of what the tank was during the battle either. But either way, I see it's a low HP tank. There's two low HP tanks versus 3 high HP tanks plus myself, who's on half HP. The obvious play right now is to push the one line. We know that this phase 1 is here. We know that the waffle is here. We don't know where the TVP is, although he did shoot us from H1. But the most obvious play is to push 1-2 line, because if we push over a 9-0, it's very... unless I push with the standard B, we're almost definitely gonna... the standard B is almost definitely gonna die going over, because he'll get lit around here, and then he'll get shot from the A phase 1, and then from the waffle, and then die. If I were to push with him, we would still probably win, but it would be a little bit closer, because then they would be stuck in this corner here, and I would be very low HP. This is basically the way to get a free win, if we just push 1-2, but in order to do that, we need to push basically all together. At the very minimum, 2 of the high HPs need to push. And unfortunately, they don't seem to want to be able... it doesn't seem like they want to do that. So instead what I do is I load HE, and I poke this AE phase 1, because I know he's on 30 HP, so I just go for it. It's kind of a shame, because if I had loaded the APCR, I would have killed him there, but I just didn't expect to have such an easy penning shot. But either way, I don't take damage in return, which is nice. I didn't actually see that play, like, as I'm rewatching this replay, but I guess I did during the battle. I saw that this guy was one shot, and I was thinking maybe I can just kill him, then we can progress to the east or something. That was a bad shot there. But I knew I had to get off my shot quickly because I thought he was going to die to the East 75. So now that the waffle's dead, which is great by the way, it could have very well gone in the opposite direction where the standard B gets outlit by the waffle, like if he had played back here. But thankfully that didn't happen. And so now the East is all freed up, and the best play right now would be for our Char Future to take down here so that we could kill off this AE phase 1 and then they'd all be stuck on the 1-2 line. But the CVP gets lit. Our 263 is pushing the 1-2 line, which is a good thing. However, he's doing it all by himself, which is not good. If he did it with teammates, then it would be the right play, but he's not. He's doing it by himself. But there are only 2 minutes left, so I can kind of see why he was going for that. But now that the guys on the 1-2 line are distracted, I decide to push over on this AE phase 1. I get the shot off before he hits me. Now I'm just trying to get below the ridge line to be safe from the enemies. Unfortunately, I get perma ammo racked here, which really sucks. But now I should be unlit in just a couple seconds. The Leo goes down. I don't want to poke this bush yet because the 4K5, I'm assuming, hasn't fired. He could have fired at the 263, but I'm not sure. So I decided to wait because we still have a minute 30, and if you look at the map, as long as our 4K5 pushes, there's almost no way that we lose this game. Because our STB is in E1, so he'll shoot the TVP, I'll shoot the TVP, our standard B should shoot him, the E75 should shoot him. It should just be an easy win as long as our 4K5 pushes. And if the 4K5 on their team kills the 4K5 on our team, then that just means all of us need to push in on his reload and it will be fine. So my ammo rack comes off of cooldown. I'm just waiting for my team to spot. Unfortunately, I am not quick enough to get that shot in. I get lit for it, but I decide it's worth it to push in because I'm looking at this and I see that their TVP is probably full health. And so I can get a lot of spotting here. So that's what I'm going for right now. I'm going for the spotting on this guy. I want to get full spotting. If you're playing for damage, then maybe it would be better just to wait for your team to spot. But I decide I want to go for combined because I think I was grinding field mods on this thing at the time, so I just wanted XP. And we end up winning the game. So pretty close game, only 30 seconds left. I've already showed probably 3 Prok replays on my channel so far on this series. But I figured I'd show you another one because this game was really close and there was a lot of moving parts to it. So let me quickly show you the post-game stats. As you can see, I did 7,400 damage, which I think is just one blind shot, 3,400 assist, so over 10k combined, 1,300 base XP, missed over half my shots, unfortunately, and I lost 100k. But yeah, hopefully you learned some things, and I hope you enjoyed as well. I'll see you guys later. Not sure when the next one will be. We'll see. Goodbye.